Hello everybody and welcome back to Cure for the Common Game, where we break down random EDH decks and see how I've built them. Today we're going to talk about Kydele and the goodness of Commander 2016. Now, this is the card that really stood out for me. This is the card I wanted to build around. Now, I hate to waste the partner ability, so for this deck I'm going to partner her with this guy. I don't know that I'll ever cast him, but you can have two commanders. Seems a shame not to, and they're both the exact same colors. And they're both wizards, which we'll get into that later. But for the most part, it's just her. Just synergy around her. So, what we want to do, the whole goal of the deck, is to draw 4 cards. That's all we want to draw. In case you didn't get a chance to read her, Kydele says, tap to add a colorless mana, diamonds baby, to your mana pool for each card you've drawn this turn. We want to draw 4 cards, at least. No upper limit, but we want to at least draw 4 cards. Because when we do, the very first card I thought of when I saw her was Umbral Mantle. Umbral Mantle is... Shadowmoor gave us the untap symbol, which was the only time we've ever seen it, was in Shadowmoor and Eventide. Didn't really go over that well. I don't know if they'll bring it back. Kind of hope so. It's really flavorful. Sometimes it's really hard to do. I think Umbral Mantle broke the untap symbol. The downside to the untap symbol is in order to activate it, you've got to get the creature tapped somehow. She taps for mana, equal to the cards you've drawn this turn. So if you've drawn 4 cards, she taps for 4 mana. And then you use 3 of that mana to untap her and keep tapping her. Infinite, colorless mana. These are beautiful things. Now, this is my main interaction here. So we're going to, with that in mind, I made every other choice for the deck with that in mind. So we will, first is Umbral Mantle. We're going to keep that in mind as we go. Of course, we have our collection of mana rocks. We got the Commander Sphere, the Thran Dynamo, the Simic Signet. It is a Simic deck. Soul Ring. If you like it, then you got to put a ring in it. The Coalition Relic. The Gemstone Array. Gemstone Array also doubles as a mana dump, although I don't know why you'd want to. It's by the time you've got the infinite mana, the last thing you need is more infinite mana. So, and then of course the Bird of Paradise. I like birds. Birds don't get enough love. It's a good creature. It's been around since the beginning. It was an alpha. Great card. There is not a whole lot of creatures in the deck, but I think the creatures that we do have are pretty valuable. Draw a card here. It's not bad. Whenever you draw a card, gain a life, and we have a lot of card drawing going in there. Of course, you got to have your pair of boots to protect your Kydele, just in case they want to do some random shenanigans with it. So, got to have your boots for protection. As far as removal goes, we're not really gifted with a whole bunch of removal. Obviously, we've got Hurricane for things that fly and players. There are times when you can just wipe out the entire board with a Hurricane. Windstorm will just hit players, or just hit creatures, I'm sorry. And then Wing Coatal. Yes, I put this with removal because this is the closest thing Simic has to a murder or a Doomblade. The flash, the death touch, the flying, it's blocking anything unless it has random protection, and it's just going to kill it, barring first strike or double strike. But this is the closest thing that Simic has to a spot removal spell. So that's how I play it. In my mind, it doesn't take up a creature slot, it takes up a removal slot. Now we've got some other buttery goodness for the deck. A burgeoning, because why not? Vincer's Journal. Any deck where you're going to be drawing a crazy amount of cards, or Vincer's Journal is a good solid card to have. There's not enough cards that give a no maximum hand size, and this one gives you life to boot. It's 5 mana, but I think it's worth it. Crystal Shard, because there are some creatures that you can catch your opponent not paying attention and be able to bounce some of theirs, or you can bounce some of yours, like, say, your Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage is really good to go get your Soul Ring, or your Treasure Mage. Maybe go get something a little bigger. A couple of tutors with Mystical Tutor and Fabricate. Obviously, Fabricate is pretty important. I've often found myself wanting to Mystical Tutor for the Fabricate to go with the Umber Mantle. That's a whole lot of turns, and it's a whole lot of stuff, but it's worth it when you get there. The Phyrexian Metamorph, because this is just amazing. It's bonkers. I love it. Hurkyl's Recall, because there are times when either A, you need to save your artifacts, or B, that the ready player is just getting out of hand. It works. Same thing with Rebuild. Hurkyl's Recall is a favorite. Rebuild doesn't get a whole lot of love. It's 1 more mana and it cycles. I think it's pretty good. Lore Scale Kydele, another really good card to draw some cards with. The Progenitor Mimic is a good solid card. Kyora's Follower. I like untapping permanents. Can't have the Follower without Kyora. Here again, she's just a good solid card, I think. And a lot of times once you play the Walker like that, they will draw attention from what you're doing. And the Reconstruct. Now we're going to get into our card draw. Our card draw, keep in mind, we're looking for 4 cards. We want to draw 4 cards in a turn. Sylvan Library, those are card draws. It says draw 2 extra cards, so that's a total of 3 cards. Yeah, you put 2 of them back, or you can, if you're greedy, you can spend that 8 life. That's good. But that's 3 cards drawn every single turn. 3 cards on Urban Evolution. You get to drop an additional land. Here's a Heretic. It's pretty good. Rush of Knowledge. If you just have Kydele on the board and you cast Rush of Knowledge, you're drawing 4 cards just off her because her CMC is 4. Brainstorm counts as 3 card draw. Windfall, beautiful. Tolarian Winds. Frantic Search. Love the free cards. The free cards from the Urza block, it was a cycle of blue cards that you spent the mana, did the effect, and then untapped up to that many lands, however many lands it took to do it. Everybody is pretty much familiar with Palincaron and Peregrine Drake, Great Whale, the fairies. But it's one of those weird mechanics that the higher you cast it, research and development has said that the higher they put the casting cost on the card, the more broken the card is. So that's kind of funny. A little trivia there. Merfolk Looter. Draw an extra card, get you some filtering going. Sphinx of the Magosi. Mana : draw is a good thing. Of course, no blue card drawing deck would be complete without the Rhystic Study. It's just kind of annoying having to are you going to pay for that? Are you going to pay for that? It gets old. The Dictative Crufix is the, I believe, fixed version of Howling Mine, because Howling Mine your opponent gets the first draw on, because you have to play it during your main phase, so your opponent gets the first extra card draw. You add another mana to it, and it's got flash, so you can play it at the end of their turn. That way you get the first card draw. Effectively, it's the same card beyond that. Arcanus the Omnipotent. He's really not bad with the anything. I mean, he's tap Ancestral Recall. This is good. Umber Mantle, pretty good. Blue Sun Zenith, because you got to have the Expel. Font of Mythos, you're drawing 2 extra cards. The Howling Mine, you're drawing an extra card. It's a wizard, Harry. Diviner's Wand. Both of our generals are wizards, so they will auto-equip. There's some really good synergy there with the colorless equals colorless : draw. This is an answer. It's a beautiful thing. It just keeps amplifying the mana. Hopefully you've got something Rites of Flourishing, everybody's favorite double meat, double cheese. Harmonize. I believe Harmonize represents the only mana for cards that has ever been printed in mono green. I could be wrong, but I'm really thinking that's so. Thank you, Planar Chaos. It gave us a lot of tools, a lot of color breaks. I love the color pie, don't get me wrong, but this is a break. This is not a bend, and I love it. Tidings and Opportunity are pretty much the same card. They both draw you 4 cards. One's an instant. It costs 1 more, but the idea is it's got that magical number. You're drawing 4 cards. Just by casting this, playing your general, the Umber Mantle, good times. Now that we've got all this mana, we've got all this crazy infinite mana, what are we going to do with it? Well, first off, we're going to prevent all the damage, because when you attack me, I'm just not going to take any damage. You're not going to mill me either, because I'm just going to put it all back on the bottom of the deck. Now, if I really get frisky and want to swing with Kydele, I can make her a beast, or any other creature I have a beast for that matter. That lore scale Kydele, yeah. Of course, with any card drawing, it's not really an infinite thing here, but that's a monster in a card drawing deck. Everybody's got a good friend in Memnarch, and by everybody I mean nobody. I don't know that there's a more hated card when you play it. People just, it's groaning, and I understand it, because I do the same thing when somebody else plays a Memnarch, because there's nothing worse than just taking everything. You start with their mana sources and you go from there. But blue deck, lots of mana, gotta have Memnarch. Speaking of blue decks with lots of mana, flying creatures that get really big and, wait a minute, mills your entire opponent. You can mill them out 1 turn. If you don't want to mill them out, you can just blow them out. There's nothing like the old school rocket launcher to filter about 34 million mana through. Helix Pinnacle. I believe this should be a sorcery that costs 101 mana and says win the game. Pretty sure that's how this deck's going to play it. And then, of course, there's Staff of Domination. You can't go without it. It's a beautiful thing. It's the toolbox. It does all the things. If you got infinite colorless mana, you can pretty much do anything you want here. So that's my deck with Kydele, and let's not forget Thrasios. But let's face it, it's Kydele. Her partner in crime there. He's a good backup, but he's not her. That's just my thought on the new Commander 2016. Maybe I'll do something with the partner ability, I'm not sure, but her personal ability was too good to pass up. Umber Mantle. If you've got these 2 cards, you can build the deck. Everything else, just patch together. These 2. And this is an uncommon. It's amazing. And they hadn't really reprinted it that much. But anyway, that's what I've got. I appreciate you watching, and we're going to shuffle and cut.